Hello and welcome, everyone, to Good Old Rocky Talk, a Vol Society podcast. I'm your host, Brad, here with my partners, the Davids. We're glad you're listening wherever you are. This is Good Old Rocky Talk.
Welcome back, everyone, to episode 7 of Good Old Rocky Talk. I'm your host, Brad Frank, along with my partners, David Dees and David Morrison. Guys, how we doing tonight?
Doing good, Brad. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. Not too bad. David Dees, how you doing, buddy?
Doing well. I've got me a Publix sub, so a bag of Funyuns, a Diet Coke, and Monday Night Football, and hanging out with you guys.
Awesome.
Can't ask for a better Monday evening.
Let me tell you right now, we're not sponsored by Publix in any way, but I'm going to tell you this. If you haven't had one of their deli subs, gosh, they are fantastic. Forget about Subway. Forget about Jersey Mike's. Forget about all those other franchises. Publix is incredible. I'm jealous, buddy.
They make a good
I'm
sub.
jealous.
Yeah, it's good. I'm enjoying it.
That's great, buddy. Well, listen, we are glad to be back with you all tonight. We took a bye last week on the podcast. Since our Vols were also on a bye, but we're happy to be back with you. Especially this week, as it's Bama week. Big week for us. But before we get into the Bama week, let's talk about that win against Texas A&M, shall we? Let's go to our first segment. Recapping the Tennessee A&M game. Well, we all know the Vols ended up winning the game. 20-13, low-scoring game. But I must say, sloppy football it was. In fact, both teams played sloppy, which played in our favor, but goodness, guys, I still have a lot of concerns about this team. Am I overreacting?
You're not overreacting, but we're 5-1. That's a ball game we would have lost in years past with previous coaches. And so good teams find ways to win ugly sometimes. And I think it's a positive that Tennessee found a way to win that game.
I would agree with that.
Plenty of room for improvement.
Morrison, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, my thoughts coming out of the game was these two teams are kind of the definition of equal teams. Except one coach is on the hot seat and ours is not. And I just think, you have both quarterbacks for both Tennessee, Texas A&M have their issues. Obviously, A&M's in a worse situation than ours due to an injury. But, overall, I thought, just like you said, kind of a sloppy game. But I guess two positive things coming out of it is Texas A&M came into this contest only giving up 84 yards rushing throughout the season, and Tennessee ended up getting 87 out of the first quarter. So that was a real big accomplishment for our running game that ended up with 232 yards on the day. And then the other positive thing for me is the defense and special teams just played fantastic.
Well, yeah. Well, listen. Thank God for special teams. Am I right? And specifically, thank God for D. Williams. What a game!
Yeah,
he had,
absolutely.
Right?
Tennessee had that one punt in the second half that went down to the 1 yard line, which was recovered by Jackson
Ross.
He did.
Well done, sir.
You talk about someone that has
done.
really improved over the weeks and finally settled in. I know we had our concerns earlier on, but he is really now settled in nicely.
Yes, sir.
But, D. Williams had that great catch at the 1 yard line. Almost went for a touchback, but just great awareness on him. And then, 3-4 plays later, he ended up getting the punt return for the touchdown. which really opened the game up, especially a game that points were very hard to come by. And even, I even had some concerns with some of the play calling, especially on fourth down. Charles Campbell has been very accurate for the most part, and I think we could have easily got a couple field goals out of it, especially with points being a premium. And then the one time we did bring Campbell in, and he ended up missing a 51-yard field goal. But, overall, I was just happy with just the rushing attack and, like I said, the defensive special teams. Especially and even Josh Heupel. That's the other thing I was very happy for. Is like Josh Heupel finally won his first game without scoring. Won his first game when he didn't score 30 points or under 30 points. So I was happy for him to at least get that accomplishment in his coaching career. Find a way to kind of win an ugly game,
sure,
and not, I guess, rely too much on the offense. Although we mentioned the rushing game for the most part.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And before I let you, Morrison, get into the game stats, can we please talk about Joe Milton real quick? Is that okay with you guys? Because this has been weighing on me. Is that all right? You okay with that, Morrison?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Because I like to call it like it is. Am I wrong in saying this? We beat A&M by a minimum of 3 touchdowns this past Saturday. Now I'm talking about Joe Milton, the player, not as a human being. I like Joe Milton as a human being. He's a great guy. I'm not trying to bash anyone here. But am I right in saying, do you agree or disagree? We win that game by 3 touchdowns if Joe Milton was a better quarterback. Better decision maker, knowing his surroundings and just making plays when he needs to. Am I wrong for saying that?
No, not at all. I mean, that's kind of been the big question mark with Milton. And, we like Joe as a person. I just think sometimes that football IQ doesn't translate into game day.
It's not there.
No, I mean, he's got all the tools in the toolbox. It's just he doesn't know how to use them, or he doesn't realize all the potentials he has with them.
Listen here. Just think about this. For the most part, this is me talking. You may disagree. We have a decent defense most weeks. Special teams, no complaints, especially this past Saturday. They won that game for us. And our run game has been really impressive this year. What is not impressive so far, guys? Our passing game. To me, it's been terrible this year. Yes, I know we lost Brew. That does hurt. But can we be real just for a moment? I have not been impressed with Joe, his consistency all season. And not to say that the guy hasn't had his moments, but I do not think he's performing at a high level, especially with that IQ football mentality that you were just mentioning, Morrison. And the last thing I want to say, and then I want to hear from Dees about this, because he's been quiet about this. Has anyone noticed, or is it just me, the attitude that he's displaying on the field lately? What happened to being humble out there? I know. Hey, I played football. We've all played a little football here and there. I understand getting pumped up and excited about a play or two. I understand that. But listen, this guy does not have the stats to be going around boasting and because he runs one good play, getting in people's face in the defense, their faces and, whoa, yeah, look what I did, woo, and flexing. And then the next play on that A&M game, he throws a horrific interception. That does not bode well for me. Guys, I don't like it. David Dees, I want to hear. Let's hear from you, man. I got to take a break.
I'll say this. I think I agree with a lot of what you hit on. The inconsistency was my main concern from the beginning of the year with him. Can he consistently make winning plays when it matters in ball games of consequence? And we won Saturday, be honest, in spite of Joe Milton. He played poorly. He didn't get a lot of help from his receivers. There were plenty of plays that you could point the finger at the receiver, maybe running the wrong route. I think of Ramel Keaton dropping a wide open, beautiful ball that Joe threw. Wide open would have been an easy touchdown. That's the second time this year we've seen that from Ramel, which is very sad. I would hate for him to go out this senior year with that kind of season. I'm hoping he's able to get it turned around here the back half of the year. But I think he's reeling from not having the receivers that he needs. But yeah, he just makes plays that are boneheaded plays. The third down the other day, he runs and it's 3rd and 8, and he runs out about a yard shy. Instead of trying to run a guy over or do what he needs to do to get the first down, he bails on the play and gets out of bounds. Cost you the drive. The interception there in the second half to the safety. It's the second time out in a row that we've seen him make a same pass, the same thing against South Carolina, that terrible interception. So, yeah, I mean, he's just got to be better. He's got to be better. The receivers have to be better. The offensive line's got to be better. There's a lot of drives that were killed from the very beginning because we're getting 10 or 15-yard penalties to start with holding calls. And just a lot went wrong. And I don't think they can play much worse than that. So the good news is I hope that that was our floor, and there's a lot of room still to improve. If Joe Milton can give us a performance like he did against Clemson last year, this team can run the table. This team can run the table if that guy at quarterback will be our quarterback for the next 6 games or however many more games. We've got a really good chance of going into Alabama if our passing game can improve this week. If our passing game can improve, we've got the run game, we've got the defense, we've got the special teams. But it's a big if, and that was my big question coming into the year. So far to this point, I would say Joe Milton has not lived up to what you would hope for to be the starting quarterback at Tennessee. That's not a shot at him. He's made some great plays. It's got to be better. And Heupel said as much today at his press conference. He said that was ugly. Yeah, we got to be better. It is what it is. And for people saying we need to put Nico out there, I don't think this is the time to do it. I don't think you throw him out there on the road against Alabama.
He hasn't played enough. He hasn't had enough opportunities to play,
which is another mistake Tennessee's
Milton has
made this
to be
year.
Your guy.
They should have gotten him a lot more snaps earlier in the season in games where it didn't matter. But
absolutely,
I don't know, guys.
But here's the thing: you just said it, Dees. Like the part that's frustrating, the reason why I'm really hurting here and really passionate about this is you look at all the teams that are out there that we have to play. This really could be our year to run the table because I have never seen so many teams down this year. And we're hitting on most cylinders except for this quarterback passing game, and it's driving me nuts. It really is. It's really bothering me.
The defense won us the ball game. Like I said, it is what it is. Defense and special teams came through. In most years, what do they say? If you got a defense, you got a special teams, you got a run game, that's a good recipe for being able to go on the road and beat people. And I would say that, but I have my doubts going into this Alabama game. We'll get to it later, but just we can't have a passing game like we had Saturday and expect to go beat Alabama. It's got to be much improved to have a chance at winning this week.
Absolutely, no question. All right. Let's go to our next segment, guys, if that's all right with you. What did we learn this past week in college football? I'll tell you what. I want to give a shout out, if that's all right with you, gentlemen. I want to give a shout out to Duke. I really do. Hey, these guys are 5-1, and they're the 16th team in the country right now. They deserve a shout out. I wanted to just say that real quick. They don't always get a lot of credit. This team is awesome this year. I really like what I'm seeing. So, and I think that ties into what I learned this week. I keep learning that Duke is a great team, man. They're doing good things. I just wanted to give them a shout out because you know what? They deserved it. So good for them. What are some highlights, guys, we want to talk about? Let's see. USC. They got their first loss.
Notre Dame took it to them. Notre Dame had a nice win. Yeah.
Boy, what was that, a 48, was it? 20? 48-20, I think. I mean, took it to them. So USC, and we all knew that USC, their defense was not that great, but they got that first loss. So that was interesting to see and kind of expected, honestly. I knew that loss was coming. LSU. What about, LSU. First of all, they crushed Auburn. What was that, 48-18. Hey, Jaden Daniels. Is this guy the real deal? Morrison?
Yeah, I think he is. He's one of the more talented quarterbacks in the SEC. There are times in big games where he gets pressured and does some mistakes, but for the most part, he's very consistent. I mean, and like I said, that was a big win for LSU. Auburn's got some problems, especially at the quarterback position. I know we talked about Joe Milton, but their quarterback room is worse than ours is. With Peyton Thorne, they brought in from Michigan State, not doing much. Robbie Ashford the same way. They're really struggling in their passing game. But looking at LSU, a very talented team with Jaden Daniels, Harold Perkins, a great linebacker for them. I mean, it's amazing that they dropped a couple of dropped that game to Florida State earlier in the year, and then they lost in that shootout to Ole Miss, and they've kind of fallen down in the top 25. But this is still a very talented team, and Brian Kelly is still a really good coach, and I think he's a real good fit for them.
Yep. Let's talk about Washington. What about Washington? You talk about the real deal. Hey, that's the real deal right there, buddy. David D's been talking about Washington all along. And, buddy, you're right.
Michael Penix is going to be your Heisman winner this year if they continue to do what they're doing. And I think they're a dark horse to win the title.
Woo! David D's calling it, baby. From the beginning, he's been saying, look out for Washington. Beating Oregon 36-33.
That was a great game. I wish I saw that live. That game was on at the same time as Texas A&M and Tennessee, but catching the highlights on my YouTube TV there, that was an exciting game. And yeah, I think Dee's mentioned on the podcast, this Washington team is very similar to last year's Tennessee team. Michael Penix Jr. reminds me a lot of Hendon Hooker. They got a really good wide receiver that's similar to Jalen Hyatt. Yeah. I mean, Caleb DeBoer has got this team playing at a high level right now, especially in a very competitive Pac-12 league. I totally agree. Washington, they are definitely a playoff contender this year.
Oh yeah,
and especially, we've talked about teams that there really hasn't been a stronghold, a dominant team in college football. It's just kind of been wide open. But I think Washington and even I guess Michigan to a certain degree,
sure,
they have really kind of stepped up. Sure. But even though they're not the number one team,
sure. But a little bit more on SEC play. Let's see, Bama again. Barely beating. They barely beat Arkansas 24-21.
Let's talk about the big news of the week. If you kept up today, you saw Georgia played Vanderbilt the other day. Kind of came out slow and like they've been doing with inferior teams.
Only won by 17
big
against
news is Brock
Vandy.
Bowers, their star player, the most productive player on their offense. He's out for a while.
Out.
He had the same kind of he's going to have
at least
the
6 weeks.
Kind of surgery as Cedric Tillman had last year. And you remember what that recovery looked like. He never was 100% for the rest of the year.
Yep.
So there's a good chance he won't be playing in Knoxville in a few weeks. And if he does, he's not going to be 100%.
No, I don't think he will be. No, I don't think he will be playing. If we're being honest, I don't think he will be ready.
That game's got more interesting when Georgia comes to town.
It's been interesting all year. That's the one game, guys, that I've said since day one of the podcast that we're winning this year, and it's even more interesting now, as you just said, Morrison. We're winning that game. I'm telling you. I don't know if it was a dream I had a few months ago. That's why I keep pressing this. Maybe it was. I don't know. But I'm telling you, we're winning that game. We'll talk more about that later. But very interesting. Very interesting teams out there right now. A lot of teams are, Georgia's flirting with getting beat. And Bama, well, we'll talk about that here in our next in our next segment when we talk about
I want to give a shout out to a team. One of the military institutes, the Air Force Falcons. They're still undefeated. They're 6-0.
How about it?
They're ranked number 22 in the country in this week's AP poll. They average 334 yards rushing per game. Of course, they run a triple option like all the military schools do.
Yep.
But they play Navy this upcoming Saturday in Annapolis. So, watch out for the Air Force Falcons. They could be a potential. Like a New Year's Six bowl team. They always have that group of 6 slot in there. Fantastic. So I would love to see Air Force. Of course, I have both of my grandfathers both served in the military. My mom's dad served in the Air Force, and my dad's dad served in the Navy. So I guess you can call it the Grandpa Bowl coming up on Saturday with Air Force and Navy.
We appreciate their service.
Thank you.
To this great country.
Yeah, and my grandfather is the one that tunes in the Vol Society when I give the shout out to. That's them. So
wonderful.
Give some clarity.
Loyal fans as well. Fantastic.
Grandfather's a Korean Navy veteran.
Well done. Well done.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a great shout out, buddy. That's great for them and that program. Hopefully, we'll see them in a New Year's Six bowl. That'd be fantastic. It would be great. Well, guys, let's go to our next segment, shall we? One of my favorites, the mailbag section. This is where we get to hear from you, the fans. If you're not already, follow us on Vol Society. That's VOL Society. On our Facebook page, we're also on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. We're on YouTube as well, but most of our fans are all on Facebook. We're pushing 50,000 followers, guys. 50,000. It's incredible. And this is where we get a lot of our questions from. So we're going to go ahead and read a few of those off, and we thank you guys so much for these questions. So let's get started. We're going to go first with Elton. Elton from Coalfield, Tennessee. Where the heck is Coalfield, Tennessee? Anyone?
It is west of Oak Ridge and Oliver Springs, just kind of nestled in like east central Tennessee.
Okay.
Kind of give an idea.
Unbelievable. Never heard of it in my life, and I grew up in Tennessee. Fantastic. Well, Elton from Coalfield, Tennessee, he asks, which young players have impressed you the most this season? That's a great question. There's actually been quite a few. Really good question. I'll hint on some of the more notable ones. Guys, I want to hear your differences. You might have the same ones. I don't know. But first, I'm going to continue to say this. I think we had this question or something similar a while back, and I'll continue to say this. Squirrel White, I love this guy. He's fantastic. Very impressive guy. He's had some incredible catches this year already. Love that guy. I'm going to go Dylan Sampson, of course. This guy's been such a playmaker. Really an asset on the team. And on defense, I got to go with my guy, James Pierce. Guy's been a beast. So those are 3 right there to get us started. David Dees, what you got, my man?
Yeah, all those guys I put on there. I would have to also say I think he's kind of just been thrown out there this year, but Caleb Herring, each week I've seen improvement out of him at linebacker. He had to come in after the Keenan Peely injury.
Yeah,
and he's held his own. He got thrown into that Florida game and kind of had a rough outing. He was out of place several times, missed some assignments, but that's to be expected for a young guy, first time out there. But yeah, he's improved gradually over the week, so I'd throw him out there as somebody that you can see being a mainstay at linebacker for us in the future. And I'll throw Arian Carter out there as well, who's gotten a lot of snaps and reps at linebacker as well. So both those 2 young linebackers I feel good about. Of course, the guys you said, James Pierce has been unbelievable. He's going to be a top 5 pick in the NFL draft if he stays healthy here in a couple of years. He's a stud.
Yep. He is. Those are good ones, David. How about you, Morrison? Anybody you want to add to that A list of young players?
I'm going to give a guy that's kind of floating under the radar, but having a pretty good season. Joshua Joseph's on the defensive line.
There you go.
I think he's got like 2-3 sacks already on the year, but still kind of coming into his own as a on a very talented defensive line. Led by like James Pierce, one of the young guys we mentioned. Tyler Barron, I mean, he's an older guy, but I would, but Joshua Joseph's, getting some playing time out there and doing a good job. And then you mentioned Arian Carter, Elijah Herron, has been starting since Peely's injured, doing a good job too. I mean, just I'm impressed with a lot of these young guys that have kind of thrown in there probably out of their spot, I guess. But they've really contribute.
They have. They've held their own, and they're contributing, and that's good.
Yeah, and then
the future looks bright.
And of course, D. Williams is amazing.
Oh, just incredible.
Yeah, I'm very happy to have him. What a game he had Saturday.
You're right. He really did.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So hopefully that answers your question, Elton. Let's go to our next one. How about we go to let's go to Daniel. Daniel from Shelbyville, Tennessee. Where's Shelbyville, Morrison?
South of Nashville.
Yeah,
I believe.
I think you're right on that one.
Kind of like heading towards Alabama.
Yeah, there you go.
I think Dees can confirm that a little bit better than I can.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure Dees knows exactly where it's
in Shelbyville.
There you go. It's in Shelbyville, Tennessee. Great answer. All right, Daniel, how would you grade Tennessee's offense, defense, and special teams to this point? Woo! Okay, I like this one. Listen, you know what? I'm actually intrigued to see everyone's answers on this. In fact, I'm going to go. I have my answers, but I want to hear from. All right, just a grading scale, guys. David Morrison, grade your offense to this point, your defense, and your special teams.
Okay, I gotta quit playing with these action figures. Dees and I are like flashing wrestling figures at each other on cameras.
Yeah, we're sitting here. If you're listening to the podcast, obviously it's audio only, but we can see each other on video. And apparently, Dees and Morrison are in an old school wrestling figurine battle right now. Who are we seeing right there? Is that Bret the Hitman Hart?
Jake the Snake Roberts.
Yes.
And then we got Jake the Snake Roberts. Oh, look at these. Look at these characters.
We are. I've got Andre somewhere
this
in
is
here.
Fantastic.
We're 5 years old apparently. No, okay. So back to business here.
Jake the Snake. Right. Let's get this guy on for an interview. He's not doing anything. He can't be doing anything right now.
He's going to be in Cleveland signing at the toy store in the mall in November.
Right.
You see? He's going to the mall in Cleveland.
Society exclusive.
He's not doing
That'll be the
anything.
next Ball Society exclusive. We'll send David and maybe myself out to get an interview.
You telling me we can't get this guy on Vol Society? Good Lord. He'd probably pay us to get on Vol Society at this point in his life. I'm just kidding. Yeah. We love you, Jake the Snake Roberts.
Yeah. All right. So
you think that snake is still alive?
There's been about 12 Damians.
Who knows?
Oh, man. Yeah. 12.
Yeah.
Wow. They don't live long.
You asked us to grade the different units. I'll start with Tennessee's.
Oh, I thought we were doing a wrestling podcast. Sorry, guys. I forgot this was a Tennessee Vols podcast. Yeah,
that might be a better use of our
David
time.
Dees, you go first then. It might be. Mm-hmm. It might be. David Dees, grade your offense, defense, and special teams. Daniel from Shelbyville wants to know.
Let's start with the defense, especially the defensive line, the pass rush. In the words of Macho Man Randy Savage, they're the cream of the crop.
Oh, yeah.
Cream of the crop. Oh, yeah. You talk about cream of the crop. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You want to talk about a defense now? I'll give you a defense. What Tim Banks is doing with that Tennessee defensive line. Rodney Garner, are you kidding me? Cream of the crop, brother. Cream of the crop.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Can you dig it?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
all right.
Yeah. Oh, the cream of the crop.
That got off
baby.
The rails quick.
Wow. I hope you guys who are listening are wrestling fans. Otherwise, you're probably like, what
Who are
is
these idiots and what the hell are they
happening
talking
right
about?
now? I don't know. All right. No
Fair
more
question.
wrestling. I want to hear your grade now.
Yeah, I would say offense. I would give a B minus, only because of the run game. Only because of the run
Interesting.
game, and we're 5-1. It's hard to knock them too much. They found ways to win games. I'll give them a B minus. Defense. Are we
Okay.
doing? How are we doing this?
Overall,
The whole team overall.
the whole team. So
I give the B minus to the offense.
Yes.
I would give the defense a B plus. I would give special team. The only thing keeping them from being an A was the Florida game. I thought that was a really bad performance.
yeah.
And then the special
Yeah.
teams, I would say, has probably been a B plus as well.
Okay. Morrison.
Yeah, I would go B on offense. Like I said, the running game is really keeping it up. I would go A minus on defense, and then I would probably go A minus on the special team. So that would probably round out to A minus B overall. Like I said, 5-1 could be a lot worse. You could be in a similar situation with Texas A&M is in somewhat, but overall, Tennessee's finding ways to win, and overall,
brother, this is a Hulkamania speaking here. And you've got a glass half full attitude going here, Brother Morrison.
Mhm.
And I tell you what, I like it. These 22-inch biceps loves it, baby. I just wanted you to know that, brother. And I just went crazy. I'm sorry, Morrison. But I had to do that.
No, it's all good. No, that's probably what I would go with. Yeah.
I just
Yeah,
Look at
yeah.
this. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, that impression was so good and spot on.
Mhm.
Morrison, his last words were just, yeah.
Yeah.
The guy is stunned by that
Stunned
impression.
silent. It was fantastic.
He has
no,
no words.
not at all. No, I would, like I said, I would go overall low A, high B.
Okay. I like
Yeah.
that. Let me give you mine. So I'm going to go offense. I'm going to go C or C plus. I know you're thinking, we're 5-1, but listen, man, this Heupel's offense is, known to be this good passing game, throwing. Man, it's awful. Right now, it's awful. We already talked about why. We need to fix it. And I would agree our run game has been fantastic, and I hope that continues. But we got to fix our passing game. I don't know what the heck's up with it, but we got to fix it. Or we're about to lose some games. It's that simple. Let's go to defense. Defense, I'm going to go a good solid B. A good solid B. I've been impressed. I've been happy overall with our defense. Special teams, after last week, let me put it to you this way. Before last week, it was probably flirting around that B plus. But after last week, man, I've got it bumped up to an A. I've been so happy with our special teams. And last week, they got us.
Grade the coaching staff. What do you give the coaching staff to this point?
Oh, gosh. That's a good question. Well, I'll say this. I'll give Heupel. Man, that's a good question, David. I really don't know. I'd say I'd give Heupel right now. I'd probably give him a solid B.
Yeah, I give them all, just across the
What
board, I
about
give them
you?
a B minus. There's things you can point to and say, like, okay, Rodney Garner, the defensive line, they've been doing incredible. Mike Eckler, special teams, Leos, they're doing great. What Brian Jean-Marie's getting out of his group's been great. Then I have some things that I don't love. I would start with the offense in the passing game, and still don't like a lot of the technique that's being taught to our defensive backs. They play with their back to the ball the whole way. I don't love that. I don't love that. It sets you up for a lot of pass interferences and weird stuff. But yeah, all in all, I give the staff.
You're giving all the coaches a combined average of about a B
I
minus.
would to
Is
this
that right?
point a B minus.
Okay. I would probably
But
agree
after
with
seeing
that.
this quarterback and this
B-,
passing game, if they can find a way to finish what I originally said at the beginning of the year, 9-3, that's really a hell of a coaching job, because that means they've gone on the road and beat several teams with this passing game. That's a feat.
Yeah. Okay. I like that.
However, you got to hold them
that.
accountable for the passing game too. So I don't know. It is what it is. I'd say a B-.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's go to one last question, guys. Let's go to one last question so we can end this thing before we start going on another World Wrestling Federation. Oh, yeah. All right. We got to stop this. Let's go to our last question. We'll go to Sasha. Sasha from Warner Robins, Georgia?
Balls are all over the place, and Vol Society's all over the place. Clearly.
We're everywhere. I love it. I love it. All right, Sasha from Warner Robins, Georgia. What are your updated win-loss predictions for Tennessee this season? Love the question. Love the question. David Morrison. I'm going to read the rest of our schedule out. This is how we're going to do this segment. I'm going to read who we're playing. A simple answer. Win or loss. Do you understand the rules? Acknowledge with an, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. All right, I love it. Let's start with, this is going to get interesting, guys. Oh, I love this. This is a great way to end the show. Oh, I love this. All right. Are you ready? Bama.
So win-loss, you said?
Win or loss?
Loss.
Whoa. Kentucky.
Win.
Okay. Connecticut.
Win.
Missouri.
Win.
Oh, he had to think about it. He had to think about it. Guys, I saw his eyes go up in the top of his head. He thought about it. Georgia.
Loss. Even with Bowers out.
Vandy.
Win.
So, Morrison, you have 2 losses. Bama and Georgia.
9-3 right now. Yeah.
All right. So you're getting us at a 9-3. All right, David Dees, you're up next. You're the next contestant. Let's get going here on To the Consequence. That's an inside joke. You won't know what that is, people. But David Dees will. All right, here we go. David Dees. Bama.
You want to ask me questions about the record? I gotta go.
This is outrageous.
Starting with Alabama game. No, I'd say
this has gotten out of control.
Just
guys.
edit that out.
I mean, it really has. I don't even know if I want to publish this podcast now. I think we wasted an hour, 40 minutes of our time tonight because I'm not going to
this late. It's just nonsense.
I know. All right, Bama. Win or loss?
I think it's a winnable game. I'm not going to be shocked if Tennessee wins, but I'm going to go with loss just because of the passing game. I don't trust it on the road. And I think so far this season and through Heupel's tenure, road games have been challenging for Tennessee.
You see, David Dees does not know the rules of this game. It was a
okay.
simple
I'll clean it up.
loss.
I'll clean it up.
David Dees, I'm going to ask you.
You're being the Earl Hebner to my Macho Man Randy Savage. Thank you.
So, just to be clear, Bama is a what?
It's a loss.
Okay. A loss. Okay. Kentucky.
Let me ask Elizabeth on this one. Elizabeth, what do you think?
Oh, don't you put Elizabeth's name in your mouth, brother.
Kentucky.
God, it's outrageous.
Kentucky.
Yeah, Kentucky.
That's a win.
Okay. Connecticut.
Win.
Missouri.
Loss.
Oh, hey, I got to tell you, I don't hate that. I mean, I do hate it, but I don't hate that pick because I'm going to tell you right now, Missouri's playing ball, and that's a tough one for me as well. But okay. All right. A loss. All right. Georgia.
Win.
All right. Vandy.
Win.
Okay. So you also have 2 losses, but yours are Bama and Missouri. Correct.
Correct.
Okay. Boy, I'm loving this. Now let's go to Brad's picks. Are you guys ready for this?
Let me ask you, Brad.
Please do.
Alabama.
Win.
Why do this to yourself? Why? All right. Kentucky.
Win.
Okay. UConn.
Win.
Final answer.
Lock it in.
Lock it in. All right. You don't want to phone a friend. All right. Missouri on the road.
Win.
Georgia at home. We already know what you think about this one.
That's not what I think. It's what I know. Win.
All right. Vandy. Oh my gosh.
Loss. Just kidding. Win. You heard that right, guys.
We're winning.
You heard that right. Glass half full, fellas.
I believe the word you're looking for there is Homer.
Glass half full. Vols will win out. Do you understand that? That's what's happening. Now, there is one little asterisk I want to put in there, if I may, real quick, with what I said.
You did 2 grams of cocaine before the broadcast and took some hallucinants, some LSD, some mushrooms.
That is unacceptable behavior on this podcast, sir. That is incorrect. I know it sounds like I probably did some drugs because I'm saying we're winning out. However, I do have an asterisk here I want to say. I want to put in here a little notation. It's in small writing. Small writing where you can't see it. That is if Joe Milton can give us a decent performance on these big games. He doesn't have to play perfect. But by golly, I need him to play at least pretty dang good and be not making horrid mistakes. And I really believe, now listen, I'm really serious about this. I know we've been joking around, guys, but listen, I truly believe if somehow Joe Milton can just be somewhat disciplined and accurate and limit his mistakes, I swear I really believe we can beat every team left. They're not that good. They're not that good.
Well, I agree with that, but let me ask you this. How many games have you seen him do that this year?
Hey, buddy, you got me there.
Name one.
I know. I can't.
Aside from Virginia, name one.
No.
You know, I
know. I understand. But have you watched?
And we've been able to get by with it against the South Carolinas of the world and the
But you know what I really believe? Call me crazy. I know you say we've been able to get by with the South Carolinas and whatnot, but I truly believe, and I might be the biggest idiot on the planet, I truly believe Bama and Georgia are not that much better than those teams.
No, they're not. They're not.
They're
those
really not. So
play.
therefore, we can beat them.
Yeah.
Therefore, we can beat them.
I hope you're right.
I do too. Now, I may not be right, but I am going to keep that glass half full, guys, not because I'm so confident in our team. It's because I am not confident in these other teams. I've watched them play. They're barely beating teams. There's no reason we can't make a game out of all of these guys. Bama, Kentucky, Missouri, Georgia. There is no reason these games are not super close because they're not that good.
Ooh, I love your spirit and I love your attitude.
Well, you know, brother, when you got 22-inch biceps, you can be cocky all day long, baby.
Bam, bam.
This is outrageous.
Bam, bam.
I want to go ahead and apologize. I'm getting ready to get up and do the who are these guys? The bushwhackers. I'm getting ready to get up and start doing the bushwhacker dance.
Oh,
I might. Oh yeah, but wow, what a freaking show this was.
Good luck editing this piece of shit.
I will not be editing this. In fact, that comment is not getting edited right there. I think our fans are going to appreciate just how real we keep it on Vol Society. This has been an entertaining show.
I just think
guys.
it's impressive. I have all these Hasbro figures on my desk, and they cost more than this podcast equipment that I'm using.
Isn't that great?
I know it.
It's fantastic.
Oh, goodness gracious.
All right, guys. Well,
We still got to
Cool.
recap look ahead to the Alabama game.
God, I feel like we've already done that, but we'll go ahead and go to this last little section real quick. Why not? Recapping WrestleMania 29. Just kidding. This is outrageous. Guys, I want to apologize to our fan base. I want to go ahead and apologize because I'm not going to edit any of this. I'm just going to post it tomorrow. And
Oh, you want to recap?
and if you're
You want to look ahead, huh?
and I'll tell you this.
Listen
If
to
you're
me when
not
I'm
a
talking
wrestling
to you,
fan-
Mean Gene.
If you're not a wrestling fan, I want to go ahead and apologize because you're probably going to unsubscribe from our podcast. I'm going to be sad about that. But we just kind of went on a tangent tonight. I don't know how this happened, but yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and apologize. Let's go ahead and do the thoughts on that Bama game real quick. I've already hinted on it a little bit, but I'm going to give it to you nice and quick. Here we go. Number 1, Joe Milton. Would you quit putting those wrestling figures on the screen? I'm going to have to fire my team. Guys, this is outrageous. Hey, we're going to be taking applications on Vol Society for a new co-host on our podcast. I'm just kidding.
The pay
All
is
right.
so good here. I can't afford to get fired. Please don't fire me.
Yeah, that's up to you, big boy. Listen, 2 things are going to happen Saturday. 2 things are going to happen. Number 1, Joe Milton will be on his game, and he'll limit his bad decision making. I said limit. He's not going to. He's going to make mistakes. That's just who Joe Milton is. But he'll limit those, and the Vols will win in a close one. That's number 1. Number 2, Joe Milton doesn't lead the offense, and he makes too many of those ridiculous mistakes that he can do sometimes. And Bama wins in a close one. Those are the 2 things that's going to happen. Hey, listen, I know it's not fair to put the game on one person, and I'm really not trying to do that. What I'm saying is true, though. Yes, all 3 phases of the games need to show up, play hard, but I'm telling you, Joe is the key, in my point of view, in whether we keep it close and pull out the win. That's truly what I believe. David Morrison.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think this game is going to be crucial when it comes to the vertical passing game with Joe Milton. Even though we have our doubts on it, I still like our running game. I still like our defense, our special teams. And, even Alabama's had its issues too. And kind of don't know what to expect with Alabama much this year, or at least week to week, I should say, even though they're still consistent. But, yeah, it's going to really come down to, can we establish some sort of a passing game, even though it's going to be very, very limited for the most part. But, yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Gotcha. Oh, this show is out of control tonight. We're just, I wish we need to do our podcast and make it visual for people, because I think people would appreciate this. I mean, we're just showing random things on our screen that makes no sense. But all right, David Morrison. Let's go to David D's. David D's, let's hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some positives that Tennessee can lean on coming into this game. I think defensively, they can get after the quarterback. The problem is, in this case, the quarterback is very mobile. Tennessee tends to struggle with mobile quarterbacks. I think Jalen Milroe will give them more of a threat to do that than any quarterback they've faced this season. That's the area where I see Alabama being able to have success against Tennessee's defense, is Jalen Milroe breaking a 20-yard run, a 30-yard run, kind of like what Hendon Hooker was able to do consistently last year for us. That's my biggest concern. If Tennessee's defense can keep contained on Jalen Milroe, I think the defense will have a big day. I think they'll get after him. I think they can get him to the ground. I think our secondary can hold up against their receivers. I think we'll be solid against their running game. I just worry about them losing contain on Milroe and him getting out and hurting him with his legs. I think our special teams will be there for us. I think we'll be able to run the ball on Alabama. I'm just concerned, like you are, with the passing game. A lot of that has got to be cleaned up with penalties. We can't have the same amount of pre-snap penalties we had against Florida. You go down there and have a ton of penalties, you're going to lose that game handedly. Tennessee will get blown out if they go down there and throw interceptions and have a bunch of pre-snap penalties like they did this past week against A&M. That's a no-brainer. They're going to get blown out if that happens. If they can limit those things and play more disciplined, they'll have a chance to be around in the fourth quarter and to make it interesting. And I'll just leave you with this. Win or lose come Saturday, say what you want about this football team. There's not been a game that Josh Heupel has been our coach where we've had to go into that game fearing that we were going to get not be competitive or not be in the game, not have a chance to win. And we've also not felt like we're going to get out-coached by the other coach. And so it's just really refreshing to be able to say that. I know we've got our issues, we got our warts. Alabama does as well. But just to be able to have the trust in our coaching staff to know that we're at least going to be competitive and feel like we have a chance to win every game out is just really refreshing, because we went 10 years probably coming into this Bama game knowing it was an automatic loss. And nothing felt worse than that. So to have those days behind us, what win or lose this week, it is what it is. I'm just thankful that we're able to look ahead and not have to know that it's just going to be an automatic beatdown every year against Alabama. So I'm thankful for that.
I love it. And I'm glad you're thankful. I'm glad you're thankful. I'm thankful too. I think Morrison's thankful as well. It's good to be competing again. So Josh Heupel, Danny White, we thank you for that. All right, guys. Well, I'm very excited to see what Saturday's going to hold for us. That kickoff, Morrison, is a what time? What time is that, Morrison? We can watch it at
3:30 on CBS with Brad and Gary again.
Brad and Gary. I don't know about Gary. I don't know about this Gary.
I love CBS's presentation. I just don't like Gary.
Well,
but I love the rest of the production. They do a great job. I'm going to miss it next year when the SEC's not on there. I won't miss Gary.
No, I'm not going to miss Gary, especially the comment he made last week. If you follow us on Vol Society, you would have seen that comment. This guy says, what does he say? Tennessee Neyland Stadium is just like any other stadium in the SEC. Is that right?
Hey,
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, yeah, it's something like, doesn't matter about 80,000 or 100,000, it's loud at every stadium.
Oh, okay, Gary. Yeah. What would Macho Man Randy Savage say to Gary right now, David Dees?
Gary, you're luckier than a dog with 3 weenies when I get a hold of you.
Oh, yeah. You're not the cream of the crop there, Gary, are you, buddy?
Think you the cream of the crop? You've been nothing since Vern Lundquist left your booth.
Vern. Boy, I miss Vern. Gosh, I miss that guy. Vern Lundquist. What a guy. Woo! All right, I better end the show now before we have 0 subscribers to our podcast. Because this has gotten out of control, boys. But you know what? It's our show, and we'll do what we want to. And we hope you guys enjoyed it.
The warlord on the way out.
It's fantastic. Oh, it's great. Yeah, I wish you could see what we're seeing. We're seeing all sorts of wrestling figures. I mean, do you guys just have these just piled up on your desk right now? What is happening? Like, how are you having... Here's my question.
I've got these like in Christmas in the early 90s.
But here's my question. We're recording a podcast live, and they're coming out of the woodwork right now.
These are 19-year-old David's obsession.
I understand that, but what are the odds that both of you have these little figurines within arm's reach of each other right now?
You
guys play with these in your free time? I mean,
you never know.
I still put on
pay-per-views every Sunday night, Brad, at my house. You don't know.
I'm truly a little concerned with what's happening because these figurines are just coming out of the woodwork.
Mm-hmm. These were at my parents' house for like 25 years, and then when they were cleaning out their basement, they said, "Get rid of these things and put them in your house."
And you said, "I'm not getting rid of those things."
Yeah, I was like, I really don't know where to put it, and lo and behold, they're in the Vol Society room.
All right, well, David Dees, what's your excuse? Why are they within 2 feet of you? We've got a playroom, a couple of rooms over from where I'm recording this, and we've got a box of them in there. They're from my childhood. You hear that?
My kids play with them now.
David Dees has a playroom.
Got that
he has a playroom for his wrestling figurines. I was a big fan of Pee-wee's Playhouse as a kid, so when I got older, I said, you know what, I'm going to have a playroom. Not a playhouse, but I'll have a playroom. R.I.P. Paul Rubens. I know you were, but what am I? Oh, God, it was terrible.
It's not for sale, Francis.
Not for sale, Francis.
Good for you and your father.
Oh, man, what another great show. All right, this is out of control.
What am I? I don't make monkeys. I just train them.
God. Woo! Guys, we love you very much. If you still want to stick around and subscribe to our channel, we would really appreciate it. It's just late. It's just late tonight, and we've lost our minds. And these action figures or figurines or whatever they have a lot of power. Have a lot of power because they took over the show tonight. Very interesting. All right, guys. That's going to do it for us tonight. Be sure to join David Morrison Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on our Facebook page. That's Vol Society. For Vol Society Live. Yep. He's going to be on there.
Third Tuesday in October show.
There you go.
The annual.
Hey, we had another great turnout last week during the show, and we hope to see you all there. That's your time to shine and ask questions. It's a live show with all of our fans. So please tune in to, by the time this show airs, it'll be Tuesday. So tune in Tuesday night. Mm-hmm. Tonight at 8 p.m. on our Facebook page, Vol Society. All right, guys, from all of us.
Yeah. Oh, Brad, remind me next week during the Kentucky podcast. I want to tell a story next week of a concert I went to featuring a band that mistaked us for the University of Kentucky, even though they were in Knoxville. So that's a teaser for next week.
Boom. You heard that. We'll talk about that next week. All right. From all of us here at Good Old Rocky Talk.
Nobody's still listening.
This has been David Dees.
No,
David Morrison.
David Dees. It's been David Schmees.
Brad Frank. Macho Man Randy Savage.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for letting me stop by.
Hulk Hogan. You know
what you gonna do, brother, when the 36-inch pythons run wild over you?
If he had 36-inch pythons, this guy's been shooting a needle in the bicep every 5 minutes. Do you realize 36-inch bicep? Anyway,
you're a sick man, Jake Roberts. Thank you very much.
Snake. I love it. I mean, guys, this is outrageous.
Go, Jake.
Can I just say my last line?
No.
And let the music cue and put everyone out of their misery tonight, because this is crazy. Let me try that again. From all of us here at Good Old Rocky Talk, I say good night. Go Vols.